The city of Nob. One morning it was a holy city. By sundown, it was a graveyard. 85 priests, dead. Their wives, dead. Their children, dead. Nursing infants, dead. Every animal in the city, dead. All of it, in one afternoon, by order of the king of God's chosen people. This is the massacre at Nob, and this is your cold case file. Let me set the scene. 1 Samuel 21. David is a fugitive. He's running from King Saul, a king who was once his greatest champion, but has now become his greatest threat. David is hungry, exhausted, and armed with nothing. He arrives at the city of Nob, home of the Israelite priesthood. He goes to the high priest, Ahimelech the son of Ahitub. And here's where David does something that will cost 85 men their lives. He lies. He tells Ahimelech he's on a secret mission for the king. Urgent business, classified. He needs food and a weapon. Now Ahimelech can see something is wrong. He asks David, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" But David pushes through the story. He's convincing. He's desperate. So Ahimelech does what a priest does. He helps. He gives David the sacred bread from the altar, the showbread, the bread of the presence, because there's nothing else available. And he hands him a sword, not just any sword, the sword of Goliath. David himself had placed it there after his famous victory, and now he picks it up again and walks out of Nob. Nobody would have known, except one man was watching.
His name was Doeg the Edomite. He was Saul's chief herdsman, essentially the head of household staff for the king. He was at Nob that day, detained before the Lord. The text doesn't tell us exactly why, but he was there, and he saw everything. He saw Ahimelech greet David. He saw the bread change hands. He saw the sword. He heard the conversation. And he said nothing. Not yet. David walks out of Nob, and for a brief moment everything seems fine. David disappears into the wilderness. The priests go back to their duties. Doeg goes back to his work. But there's a question burning in the evidence file here. David saw Doeg. He knew exactly who Doeg was. He knew the kind of man Doeg was. A foreigner, loyal to Saul, positioned right next to power. And David said nothing to Ahimelech. He didn't warn him. He didn't tell him, "Hey, that man who was watching us, you need to be careful." He just left. That decision, that silence, is what makes David a suspect in this case.
Cut to 1 Samuel 22. King Saul is sitting under a tamarisk tree in Gibeah. He's got his spear in his hand, which in the Bible is never a good sign. And he's unraveling. He looks out at his servants and he says, "Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you all commanders of thousands? Is that why you've all conspired against me? None of you tells me when my own son makes a covenant with David. None of you is sorry for me." Nobody speaks. Then Doeg steps forward. "I saw the son of Jesse come to Nob, to Ahimelech son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him, gave him provisions, gave him the sword of Goliath." Every word of it true, and every word framed for maximum destruction. Saul summons Ahimelech and the entire priesthood of Nob immediately. They all come, all 85 of them. And Ahimelech defends himself with everything he has. He says, "Who among all your servants is as faithful as David? He is your son-in-law. He is the captain of your bodyguard. He is honored in your own house. I inquired of God for him as I've done before. I knew nothing of any plot." It's a solid defense, logical, true. Saul doesn't care.
"You shall surely die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house." Saul turns to his guard. These are trained soldiers, men who have followed his orders through battles, campaigns, blood, and he gives them the command, "Kill the priests of the Lord." They don't move. Think about what this means. These were not squeamish men. They were fighters. But they looked at that order, and every single one of them silently said, "No, not this." So Saul turns to Doeg the Edomite, and Doeg has no such hesitation. 85 priests in their linen ephods, their priestly robes, killed in what the text describes with devastating efficiency. No dramatic scene, no final words, just Doeg the Edomite turned and struck down the priests. Then Doeg goes to the city itself. He kills the men, he kills the women, he kills the children, he kills the nursing infants, he kills the oxen, the donkeys, the sheep. The entire city of Nob erased. This is what scholars call herem, the total destruction God had commanded Israel to carry out against certain enemies in Canaan. Saul is now using it against his own people, against God's own priests. He never fully obeyed God's command to destroy the Amalekites. He carried it out completely at Nob. One man escaped, the youngest son of Ahimelech, Abiathar. He got out while Doeg was doing his work, and ran until he found David in the wilderness of Judah. And he told him everything. What happens next is one of the most raw moments of self-awareness in the entire Bible. David doesn't try to justify himself. He doesn't spin it. He doesn't say, "How could I have known? It's not my fault." He says, "I knew on that day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, 'I have caused the death of all the persons of your father's house.'" He knew. He saw Doeg. He calculated the risk. He decided his own survival was more important than warning Ahimelech. And 85 men, plus their entire families, paid for that calculation. David tells Abiathar, "Stay with me, do not be afraid, for he who seeks my life seeks your life. With me you shall be safe." Abiathar stayed with David for the rest of his life. He eventually became the high priest of Israel, the last surviving link to the priesthood of Nob.
So, who is responsible for the massacre at Nob? 3 suspects. Let's close the file. Suspect number 1, King Saul. He gave the order. He manufactured the accusation. He had the paranoia, the power, and the authority, and he weaponized all 3 against innocent men. This is a king so far gone from God that he executes what God never commanded and refuses what God did command. The evidence against Saul is overwhelming. He is the primary perpetrator. Suspect number 2, Doeg the Edomite. He had 2 opportunities to stop this. He could have stayed silent when Saul was spiraling. He chose to speak. He could have refused like the soldiers. He chose to act. He is the instrument of the massacre, willing, efficient, and thorough. The text gives us no remorse from Doeg, no hesitation. He is guilty on every count. Suspect number 3, David. This is the uncomfortable one. David doesn't kill anyone at Nob, but he starts the chain reaction with a lie. He sees the witness and says nothing. He makes the calculation that costs 85 people their lives. And here's the thing, the Bible holds him accountable. David holds himself accountable. "I have caused the death of all the persons of your father's house." He doesn't escape the verdict just because someone else held the sword. The massacre at Nob is a cold case with no innocent parties. A king's paranoia, an opportunist's betrayal, a fugitive's silence, and 85 priests who simply showed up to work that morning, not knowing it was the last morning they'd ever have. If you believe the Bible reads like the most brutal, most honest cold case file ever written, you're in the right place. Drop a comment below. Who do you hold most responsible? Saul, Doeg, or David for starting it? I'm dropping a new case file every week. Biblical crimes, buried evidence, witness problems, and verdicts the text itself forces you to wrestle with. Subscribe so you're there when the next file opens. I'll see you in the investigation room.